Everyone, good evening and welcome to the Global Peace Film Festival presents the Fusion Fest MYgration Short Film Contest, where tonight we're going to be talking about what this whole event is about. I like to think of it as a film contest with a purpose and a really good message behind it. So if anyone has questions, we'll be fielding those after. We're going to do some presentations and then we will field questions from there. So let's hear from our instigator in charge and Fusion Fest visionary, Terry Olson, Orange County Arts and Cultural Affairs. Take it away, Terry.
Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure to be with you all and to talk about Fusion Fest. Fusion Fest, which has had two iterations, the last two Thanksgiving weekends, and will continue this year. It's been about 4 years in the planning. Basically, Central Florida is a very diverse community. Over 110 heritages have participated in this festival, which is about honoring everyone's heritage while we explore how we are now influencing each other to create our own unique identity as Central Floridians. A recent study showed that by the year 2030, the Orlando area may be the most diverse major city in the world. So diversity and people who are different from us can be frightening to some people, which can lead to hate. And this festival is about saying, you know, studies will show that if people of different cultures work close together, they're more innovative and more influential. So Orlando being a crossroads of the world, we feel that this is the place where we can show the world that people with different lifestyles, different heritages, different races can live together on a basis of love, hope, and action, as opposed to hate, fear, and silence. So Fusion Fest explores many aspects of culture: music and dance, fashion, poetry, definitely food, lots of food from all over, and film. On our film contest, which is called the MYgration Film Festival, is about short films about Central Floridians. We all have come from somewhere. Some recently, like came on a flight from another country just 5 years ago, or parents came on a boat from somewhere, or great-great-grandparents came from somewhere, but we all have migrated to Central Florida. So we are pairing filmmakers with interesting subjects and giving them a short time to make a 3 to 5 minute film that's in this contest with a $1,000 prize for the grand prize. And then that becomes part of our collection of MYgration films that we show first, premiering them at the Global Peace Film Festival, and then at Fusion Fest the Saturday and Sunday after Thanksgiving Day. What else do I need to say, Lori?
I think you've said it all, Mr. Olson.
I have something to ask you, Terry, which is give us the dates of both when it'll be shown at the Global Peace Film Festival and then when Fusion.
Well, I have a slide for that later,
okay.
Nina.
Okay.
Okay. Terry, do you have anything else?
No, I just really have appreciated the films that we've seen in these last 2 years. It has given me a chance to get to know something about Central Floridians that I didn't know. In fact, this whole festival has been an eye-opener as we learn more about each other. And as we learn more about each other, we are more influenced by each other. And as we're more influenced by each other, together we create something new and dynamic. That's our belief.
Well, thanks, Terry. My experience with the film festival, I am actually started out as the manager of the Global Peace Film Festival. And a couple of years ago, Terry came to us came to Nina and talked about running a film contest for Fusion Fest. and Nina brought me in on it. And to tell you the truth, I kind of think of it as my film festival. Sorry, Terry.
Okay.
But I love, for me, the fun is nurturing and bringing in new filmmakers, professional filmmakers, filmmakers of every skill set. Last year, we tried to bring a filmmaker in from Nepal. I actually think I might talk to him and see if he's up for trying to do it virtually from Nepal to Orlando. So that's something that might be in the works this year. I'm going to say that this year I have dates. I don't know exactly how everything is going to be done. So people are still trying to figure out. I've sat in many Zoom sessions on, what is protocol for filming, what is, just a million different things. How do we do this? Filming is such an intimate experience, especially in a testimonial documentary like what we're trying to achieve. I'd really hate to lose that aspect. But, if he's up for it, you never know. Maybe he does it animated. But what I do want to tell everyone is because we have filmmakers of all different skill sets, one of our judges from last year, Randy Baker, who is a professional in the industry for many, many years. I used to work with Randy, and now we work together at Full Sail University. Because I think most of the interviews with the people now between the filmmakers and the subjects will take place out of doors so that, masks don't have to be worn while they're being interviewed. And Randy has been kind enough to agree to put together some videos on tips on how to interview someone and, the right angles, what to do with lighting, if it's noisy, if it's windy, get a sock out of your sock drawer and put it over your microphone, all kinds of tips and tricks that will help create the best film we can get. And again, this isn't, a film contest in the tradition of most film contests that I've seen, in that, you're given a candle, a book, and an iPhone, a remote control, and, go make a film, a mystery film, a noir film. These films actually tell us something. And I have to say that both years, but especially last year, because all of the films were made specifically for this contest. And it's not just because I'm curating this, but I honestly felt there was not one bad film in the batch. And I don't think, every single story was just fascinating. And to see what people overcome and that they have found what the dream, that's why people, came to America originally. So I find it incredibly inspiring. I love my filmmakers. I love that they're coming back repeatedly. And having said that, hold on a second. There we go. Now I'd like to introduce Kerry Martinez. Gary's actually been with us for 2018 and 2019 Fusion Fest. Take it away, Gary.
With regards to being a part of the Fusion Fest and things like that, it's always been a pleasure since you've reached out to me. It's always been tricky, just because you know, with timing and everything like that. So I definitely appreciate you guys looking into making sure that we all stay safe for the event.
Yes.
But it's always been tricky in terms of like working with schedules and figuring out the story of the person and how best to tell the story for the individual. It's definitely a treat. You definitely learn a lot of new things from not only producing this project for the festival, but in and of yourself. Like you said, there are tricks to the trade where you can avoid sound issues and things like that, but you really don't get the experience of it until you actually face it. And as a new filmmaker or an established one, it's always interesting to know, because what you learn on that last project, you can take on future projects. And this is not only a great opportunity to know and learn about your trade, but even sort of share culturally what people have to say. And, since its inception, I think the Fusion Fest has been a great project to be a part of and sort of facilitate even just learning about new people, so to speak. So does that answer what you were asking, so to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I hope that makes sense. I do. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's a project worth doing. There's always a message to be learned from these folks who share their stories, and we just need people to tell them.
Right.
So there should be no shame in what skill level you have or how great your work is. I mean, I remember Omar's last year, and it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. One of the best ones. It's one of the reasons why it won. But I don't think I would have had the opportunity to sit and actually enjoy his presentation, his film, without you guys facilitating it and keeping this sort of project going for the city of Orlando.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Hey, before I throw it to Omar, I see we have Laura Leandra in the house.
Hello.
Hey, Laura. Laura has an interesting story because she's been with us 2 years as well. And last year, we seem to have several deaths happen around the time of the festival.
Yes.
For Laura, we did this wonderful event, a film pairing at this very intimate venue. The room was abuzz with excitement. And, Laura had to call me later I think it was later that night or the next day to tell me that, her subject for her film couldn't do it. And I couldn't tell you how happy I was to wake up to your application this morning. So thank you. And it also afforded her an opportunity. Last year, she came on board with Fusion Fest as one of the videography teams and her and her husband, Chris, have done some amazing work. So Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience and what you think about this?
Well, I was super excited to pair up with her, but unfortunately, like you mentioned, I think I forgot who it was, but somebody from her family passed away, and she still wanted to do it, but then I didn't hear anything, so it was a little unfortunate that it didn't work out. But which brings me to this year's. I was wondering if you guys have alternate talents, if some cases like that would happen again.
That's a good, here's the other thing that I'd love to come out of this Zoom session is any ideas that you guys have. And that's a great idea, having someone on deck in case something like that happens. That's a great idea, Laura. I'm writing that one down.
While you're doing that, Lori, I was thinking perhaps we should describe a little bit about what the parameters were like last year and what it's going to be like this year.
I'm going to go through that, I think, on the next slide. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Laura. And, here's the thing. I don't know who else is here, but if anyone else has any ideas, again, when I started this 3 years ago with Terry and Nina, I had never run a film contest in my life. And now I'm, in my third year, and every year we've, redone something and learned from prior years. And of course, this year we have the COVID challenge to overcome. But I have been personally very affected by it with my family and am uber aware and will not do anything to put anyone in harm's way whatsoever. I just want to make that incredibly clear. So being involved in this, we will be very conscious of doing things. As I said, I've been sitting in Zoom sessions with Film Florida about different set protocols and what the industry is, how they're dealing with it. So anything else you want to say, Laura?
Well, the one thing is, I think maybe if you could just make it clear to the subjects that, the time consumers that they, because she thought about 1 to 2 hours would be enough. And I was like, oh no, we need a little more time than that. So maybe
sometimes, no matter, like I used to do locations, and no matter how much you try to explain to people what's going to happen when the shoot day comes, they just don't understand. And I will definitely make a point of reiterating that several times and bringing that home.
Yeah, not saying that you didn't make it clear, but like to put that in bold or something so people understand it doesn't just take like 1 or 2 hours out of their day to film their whole story. So
The other thing we ask people to do, the subjects of the film, is to provide any photographs, or if they have, like, I know one of the films had some like old 70s camcorder video that someone let them use. So that, you know, there can be that digital exchange of assets, if you will, B-roll, you know, to use as your project as well. So it won't be that you only have what you shot, you know, there'll be other things as well.
And this year, I think that's going to be even more important.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Anything else, Laura, before I throw it to Omar?
No, go ahead. Thank you.
Omar, it's all you, babe.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, first I want to thank you for having me here. Last year's Fusion Fest was absolutely amazing. I am a huge believer in representation in film. I think it's extremely important, especially nowadays. And this kind of contest really allows us to highlight and bring up the level of representation that we have coming out of like grassroots, right? Because everybody thinks that they have to make something super trendy, super mainstream.
Michael Bay blowing things up.
Yeah, exactly. and that is not the case. I think human stories are the most interesting. And I think that being able to highlight the stories of migrants in Central Florida with local filmmakers is a fantastic connection. I think those two just kind of spark. It is not only just from that aspect too that I like it. I think I really enjoy it because it gives you 48 hours to really push with all you have, right? You're literally living on the edge of your skill level. You're living on the edge of your craft, and in 48 hours you can learn and grow much more than you can in months. Just because you are literally trying your best and you have all these limitations and you're living inside this box. And with that is that you excel, with that is that you grow. So it not only plays a great role, I think, in our community, it plays, it's a huge tool for you to just grow as a filmmaker. You get to meet fantastic other people, like seeing other people, how they approach these challenges, you know, it informed me and it gave me a lot of ideas. And not only that, but seeing the many different stories, like, honestly, I wanted to make a documentary about all of them. Like, you know, like I had Patrick, and I was very lucky to have Patrick. He was a fantastic human being, and honestly, a friend for life, I can say for sure. But just seeing everybody else, just hearing their stories, it was fascinating. And I can't wait to do it again. I had a chance to really enjoy what I love doing in 48 hours, and just see what happened after, see the reception of people, being able to talk about it with other attendees at the festival and later during Fusion Fest. It has been one of the most rewarding films I've made. So I encourage everybody else to do the same.
You know, and Omar, why don't you talk about last year, you know, when we had the film pairing, Patrick, who you made the film about,
Yes.
couldn't show up. Matter of fact, when I was looking for a picture of you for tonight's thing, I saw the picture of you sitting at the table at the film pairing with your computer open trying to talk to Patrick. Why don't you talk about that? And the
of course. I mean, that's the fun part, you know.
You were like so flustered. It was adorable.
Yeah, it's extremely challenging because when you're talking about documentary, right, there is a level of connection that you have to establish in the first, like, as soon as you meet your subject. It has to work. And I didn't get to do that. As soon as I arrived to a meet and greet, like, Patrick was painting, and you know, the big props to him, because honestly, like, he's a painter, right? Like, if I was gonna find him anywhere, it was gonna be painting. So he couldn't make it because he was teaching, and he had a big class. So I decided, after watching a video that Lori provided, I decided, you know what, forget it. This is not gonna work this way. I have to find him. I have to talk to him. I have to see who he is. I have to, like, see him in action. And that's what I did. I got in the car and I told the professor, I told her, you know, I have to go. I have to find him. Like, I just need his phone number. You know. So I went to his studio, and I happened to step into one of the most wonderful places that exist in I think in town. Just a magical place full of art, and with people just painting. And he had such a like commanding presence that instantly I knew like, yes, that's my guy. I waited until he was done with his class. I sat there for like maybe half an hour, and as soon as he was done, he was like, "Oh, I think I know who you are." And I was like, "That's right. We need to talk." So we sat down. I was like, "Look, I have somewhat an idea of a schedule, but in reality, I just need to know who you are, and I need to know how I can amplify your voice, your story." And we just seem to like be on the same page from the very beginning. I sat with him and we talked for like maybe 2-3 hours that night, and then the next morning I showed up like at 7 a.m. with my crew, and we were like, okay, let's do this. And we followed him all day. We had our interview like early during the day, then we like shot him painting, and then he had a class. So we saw all pretty much every single aspect of Patrick, and in that process we became really good friends. So I think it is that is magic. It's the fact that it's not perfect. It's the fact that it doesn't just work out the way you want it. It gives you a reason to pivot and to like improve on the spot. And I gotta say, like, I'm not the same filmmaker I was last year when I made that film, right? So I am glad, actually, in a weird way, that Patrick wasn't at that meet and greet, because I did get to see him in action before he even told me anything about him. Like, I got to see him.
Call a happy accident.
Yes, exactly. Like, I got to see him in all of his like splendor, like right before like he will even say hi to me. I think that made a big impression on me, and you can see that on the film. Like, I make sure to portray that same feeling throughout the whole 5 minutes.
So Jen has asked where we can see, is there a place that we can see the films from last year, from the last 2 years?
Terry, you want to field that?
Yes, we do have links for most of them, and I guess we don't have those on our website right now. I'm not sure. Let me check on that, and I would say within a couple days we should have links to all the ones that are still accessible to us. Some weren't available for public right away because they want to be entered into some film festivals. I think that time has probably passed for many of those, and many of the others were just available. So we do have a list of links, and we'll get that posted on fusionfest.org.
Cool, thank you.
Hey, Omar, what's the link?
Yes.
Can you type in the chat the link to your video on YouTube?
Yeah, of course. I'll put that right in.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary, Laura, if you guys want to type in there where we might be able to view your film, that would be wonderful as well, if you have someplace that you're exhibiting it. If not, like Terry said, in the next day or so, we'll have that stuff up on the site. I think there is, I remember looking the other day and thinking, oh, good, we have some video, but it might be Laura's videos of the actual Fusion Fest. So I don't really remember.
I just added mine on the chat.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been hearing a lot of questions about dates, and this is the time to for me to address those. And I will tell you that there are some dates that I'm not really sure of yet, but these are the dates that as follows. Saturday, August 1st, the intent to participate applications close. That is the deadline. Wednesday, August 5th, acceptance emails go out to both the filmmakers and the subjects of their films.
Lori?
Yeah.
It may seem obvious, but the applications, the intent to participate applications are available now.
Right, I was going to get there.
Yeah.
Okay. Saturday, August 8th, we need whoever got an acceptance email to respond so that we know you've got it and that you're on board. That's very important, and it needs to happen in a timely manner. Sometime between that and August 20th, we'll be having a professional writer interview the subjects of the films, because what we did last year, and I'd like to do something like that this year is still give the filmmakers what we call the dossier, that gives you background on the person you're going to be filming. It tells you their home address, their phone number, their email. Last year, we did, if they had a location other than their home that they wanted to go to. And now that I really think of it, a lot of them were outdoors. So, that's always up for possibility. So that will happen between you guys telling me, yes, I received my acceptance letter and I'm still on board. And then Friday, the 28th, the film pairing will happen via a Zoom session. And I have to look into some things, because I do believe if you have a certain version of Zoom, you can do what they call breakout rooms. So, whoever the filmmaker is paired with, the subject of the film and them can go into a private chat room and talk privately in Zoom. So again, I'm still working on a lot of this stuff, so I appreciate everyone being patient. We're all dealing with kind of the great unknown, or as Nina says, nobody knows. What are we doing, Nina? Nobody knows.
Right. Not yet, anyway. We'll know. We'll know when we know.
Exactly. Well, that's another good one. We'll know when we know. Nina Strike. I love it. So Friday, August 28th. So everyone that's going to participate needs to be available that day. Saturday, August 29th is when the filming will take place. And as Laura said, for the subject, the time commitment is the least. They are needed all day. Like Omar said, 7 a.m. till whenever they're done, if needed, they can do additional filming on Sunday. And the deal of the pairing is that you guys discuss what the possibilities are. What does your house look like? You bring pictures and digital whatever. That can be done on Saturday, or you can exchange them via email. This year, because of COVID and because it's a little bit more of a challenge, we've extended the deadline to Wednesday the 3rd, giving you guys a little extra time. It can also help filmmakers look for stock footage of maybe the subject's home country. I just feel like in this particular case, I just think the extra time is time that will be well spent. It can also help you maybe sweeten the audio a little, which is always an issue. We don't know yet exactly how we're going to be exhibiting these at Fusion Fest. So we may or may not be closed captioning or open captioning them for Fusion Fest and for Global Peace Film Festival as well. And here's the thing, and I think the filmmakers that are present can attest to this. I am very much a communicator, and I make sure I kind of do all the pre-production for my filmmakers. I get them as many assets and as much information on the subjects as possible. So if anyone is sitting here, wanting to know if they should be a subject or not, we are looking for people from all over the world, obviously, that are willing to share their story. And some of the elements that I find very compelling, one is why they came to Orlando and made it their home. Two, how do you keep your culture alive? How do you pass that on to generations? My son, I'm Jewish, and it was very hard. When I grew up in a very Jewish neighborhood, so it was easy to have a Jewish identity, but I was unsure of how to give him that here in Central Florida, where not everyone, like where I grew up, is, a majority of Jews. So I think that when we share our cultures with each other, because what I used to do is make like Hanukkah parties and Passover parties for him in school and share. And as a matter of fact, the other day I found a note that a kid wrote to him saying, and I love when your mom came and the jelly donuts and all that stuff. And, we are so much more similar than we are different. And, Laura's from Switzerland. Yes, Laura?
Yeah.
Omar, you're, I believe, Colombian. Gary, I forget what your background is.
I'm from Peru.
As well, and yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cuban, yeah.
So I love that the fusion goes even further in that we're fusing the cultures of the filmmakers with the cultures of the people that they're making the films about. So the screenings for Global Peace Film Festival, again, I don't know what they're going to be. They may be a drive-in. They may be at Rollins. We don't know. We'll know when we know. And then, of course, the big, grand prize and the most amazing event all year, November 28th and 29th, that Saturday and Sunday after Thanksgiving. We have a wonderful parade that opens every day's festival. I know today that Terry and his team were working very hard at figuring out how do we do this in the age of COVID. So I'm just so thankful that you all have showed up tonight. I'm hoping that tomorrow morning or tonight, before I go to sleep with visions of people and filmmakers in my head, getting all excited and amped up. Because I have to tell you, I'm really bummed we're not going to be having the live film pairing this year, because the energy in that room was just amazing. It just, you can't, if you could bottle that kind of energy, we'd all be rich. So, so if there are any questions now from people that are watching, that I have the chat box open. So if you have any questions, or Nina, do you have any questions over there coming from Facebook?
So Tali says, so awesome.
Thanks, Tally. You're awesome, Tally.
Sai
Mrs.
is watching, so hello, Sai.
Hey.
But otherwise no questions per se.
Okay, well, I'm going to type in the chat box, www.fusionfest.org/film. If you go there, if Nina or Jonathan, if you could type that, I don't know if the Facebook Live people can see that, but if you go to that website, there is a filmmaker. If you click on that, you'll fill out the filmmaker form, and then there's share your story. So if you go to share your story, that's where the people who the films will be about will submit their applications for intent to participate. And again, I'm going to drive home what Laura said, because I know I drove it home last year, but again, until someone shows up, no one really understands what film people do. So it is a commitment all day Saturday, just a couple of hour commitment on Friday night during the pairing, and if needed on Sunday, maybe Sunday they might need, maybe the filmmaker went home and the audio dropped out somewhere, so they need to come over and record some audio or whatever. So we just need you to kind of be flexible on that day. And then filmmakers, you go to town and make your films and do the voodoo that you do so well. And I love watching them all. Last year, I was just so impressed by everybody, and we really had the spectrum of skill sets. So, and
this is probably a question for Terry, who can probably do this off the top of his head, but if you can go through the different regions of the world, because we truly want to get people from all over the world as subjects who have come to Central Florida from 10 different regions. So Terry, can you?
Yes, so I was just going to jump in about that. The last couple of years, we've had maybe 2 or 3 dozen people submit to be filmmakers, and Lori's narrowed it to about 20. I think we had 23 films last year. But Fusion Fest kind of uses as its guide 10 regions of the world. And this year, we think we may just be looking for 10 filmmakers to film a subject from each of those 10 regions. And the regions are North America, Latin America, the Caribbean, Europe, Eurasia, which is kind of the former Soviet bloc, the Middle East and North Africa, Africa, Southern Asia and Eastern Asia, and the Pacific Islands.
I'm looking for the map, Terry.
we will be looking for a subject from each of those, and we have a list of some of the more high-profile people in our community that have heritages there. So we are going to be talking with them and seeing if they wouldn't make themselves available for a filmmaker. So I'm talking about perhaps elected officials, sports celebrities, etc. We have folks in our community that are from all over. And we're working to have those as possibilities for the subjects that you'll be paired with at random. Last year, as Lori said, it was in person and you came and you just picked up a dossier and then you found out who that person was. This year, we'll have a lottery or something that at that Zoom, you'll be introduced to whoever it is that you won't know before, but we'll have some information we've gathered ahead of time. So giving you a little head start, you can take a look at who you're going to be paired with and just some cheat sheets.
Yeah, I think Terry's trying to go for Celebrity Fusion Fest MYgration Film Festival contest this year.
We're working on it.
I love it. I love
That'd be
it.
great.
Yeah, you know, just on a personal note, my vision moving forward for Fusion Fest is that my filmmakers are clamoring to come back every year because it's just such a wonderful personal experience, enriching in every possible way. I know my life has definitely been enriched and expanded, having been involved with Fusion Fest for now, I guess this is our 3rd year. So thank you, Terry, and thank you, Nina, for bringing me on board with this.
I'll have to say that it's, as we were preparing for Fusion Fest in the 2 years before we did our first one, we had some gatherings every other month of nations, we call it. And we'd look at a particular aspect of culture. The first one was food, which was great. So we did this international potluck buffet at every meeting. But then we one time was looking at story. And so how do we incorporate people's story? And film seemed to be the best way to do that. But like I said, we've got music, we've got dance, we've got fashion. We have added last year games, fun and games from around the world. And this year we're planning to add holidays from around the world. So every hour a different holiday will be celebrated. So it's a very comprehensive look at the heritage and the culture. There are over 50 team members. The team are people that are in charge of things, like Lori and Nina are team members in charge of film. So there's a lot of people working on this festival, and it is a very exciting thing.
I see Tally just came on board. Tally, do you want to put in your 2 cents at all?
Hey everyone. I just want to say that I'm really excited about this year. I see some friends here. Hi Omar, hi Laura.
Hello.
Hi Jan. Yeah, I'm just super excited for this year, and I just can't wait. I love all the films. They just tell such great stories, and it's, you know, it's our neighbors. So yeah, I'm super
Tally
excited.
and I were like pinching ourselves at last year's film pairing, you know? We were
Yeah,
like, oh, it's so exciting.
And,
it
and
is.
Anne,
It is.
Anne has just added that she's excited for her first year as a filmmaker if she's selected. So
Good, good.
For those of you that don't know Tally, she is the glue that holds it all together. This is her full-time thing, is working on Fusion Fest. So she is the one.
Aw, thank
This is Fusion Fest.
yeah, that's true. Thank you.
I don't really have much else to say unless anyone that's joined has any further questions. I put the site where to go to fill out applications, intent to participate. I'm going to be blasting things out on Facebook and everywhere I can possibly think of, LinkedIn. If you know of anybody that has a story, please, you know, I have a feeling we might get more than 10 filmmakers and need more than 10 people. So,
I
and
think that would be great.
I think that would be amazing. So
We're We're more than halfway there already, I believe. So
I know. So I think we're going to go past 10, and it just makes me so happy.
let me comment that I think one of the most difficult things that I've observed, not being a filmmaker though, is sound. As you're, interviewing in people's outside or wherever, getting good sound is really has been the biggest
Challenge.
stumbling block, I would say, to the films.
Yeah.
Usually people's story comes out because it's them. People usually love to talk about themselves. And with your filmmaker creativity about how to intersplice in different visuals or other found things, that's been working pretty well. But the biggest complaint of anyone has been about the sound, that it varies, and some do really well and others are a problem. So just want to encourage filmmakers to really think about how you're going to get good sound, how we're going to be able to hear them well.
Right. And
especially if people have an accent, that makes it even harder to hear, right?
Yeah.
So with folks, and many of them will have accents. Some of them might be a Southern drawl, but because our heritage has come from all over. But nevertheless, being able to hear clearly is really important.
That's where also having the extra days comes in handy. So if you have to re-record a line that someone said, you could probably even do it over, the internet. I mean, things are so, we just to progress so far. So hence the extra days for, just really be, like I said, one, because of the challenge of doing this with being under quarantine and all that stuff that's going on, but also because people throw audio is like the first thing that gets thrown out of the window, and in this case, and especially as Terry said, because people have accents, it's really important to get clean audio.
And that's also why we're looking into either subtitling or open or closed captioning everything, so that so that although the sound is critical and it's really important for people to pay attention to the sound, that hopefully with the titling, it'll help people be able to absorb what people are saying, because there's also, when they're shown at Fusion Fest, it'll be outside and there's ambient sound as well.
Right. Yeah. We haven't finalized the plan for this year's film pavilion, but we had talked about doing the screenings outside on that. I don't know if anyone was there last year, on the panel LED van, and creating sort of a film cafe where you can go get your food at the food trucks and then sit down and eat it while you watch movies. And you were probably going to do a sizzle reel from last year, so like the best of 2019, the best of 2018. And, but it also depends on how many films we get made this year. So there's still some stuff in flux here. And Jen, making sure you get room tone is very important. And like I said, if it's a windy day, you don't need to spend a lot of money. Go to your sock drawer and get a sock and put it over your microphone. You don't have to get fancy. I think lack of money is the mother of invention.
Lack of money and lack of time.
Exactly. So
I think it's a great idea with the screening, because I felt like last year some people didn't even see the film pavilion, versus 2018. I felt like it was more visible for people and
right
to see it. Although you had a great screening room with chairs and cool air and
the thing about festivals is that everything has to be within visual distance of each other. So going through a door into another place creates, it's not
barrier.
It's not a festival anymore. It's not that contiguous feel. So although yes, it was air conditioned, it was it was separated.
yeah.
So these are lessons that I've known for a long time, but we still keep trying things. And the first year we had one stage kind of on the other side of a building, and it didn't really work because it was separated. Part of a festival is our being together, which is an interesting thing to say in 2020 as we plan a festival.
Challenge accepted.
It is about being together, even if we're not together, but together 6 feet or whatever. So I know myself, Tally, and 2 other colleagues that work in my office, they've all been working at home. And I've been in my office alone for 3 months now. And the other last week, all of them were in. We had some inventory physical things to do. And by the afternoon, I was feeling really emotional. I have to tell you all, I love you people, because the physical proximity of the other humans is different than this. There's a lot I can get from Zoom, and some of my Zoom meetings with friends have really gotten deeper than we normally get in our social circles, but physical proximity is important. So anyway, all that to say, we're planning to have Fusion Fest physically, where we all get together.
Awesome. That's good to hear.
Okay, well, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of 2020 MYgration Fusion. Well, that was our first mistake, is we made the title way too long. It's such a mouthful. It's the 2020 Fusion Fest MYgration Short Film Contest. Get online, go fill out an intent to submit to participate application. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.